So this is the revision video for topic area 5.1. How can I start to think like an economist? The idea of the video is to go over the key points from each chapter. So it's a content driven video really. So 5.1, how can I start to think like an economist? Topic 1 considers what trade-offs exist. Key terms: opportunity cost, choice, scarcity, and trade-offs. All decisions in economics involve a choice and therefore a trade-off and an opportunity cost. Choices exist because we have unlimited wants but scarce or finite resources. So these choices are often very difficult. It's known as an opportunity cost when the decision that we're giving up, or the next best decision we're giving up or foregoing, that is our opportunity cost. So the next best alternative that we're giving up when we're making a choice. If you had a decision whether to have a Mars bar or a dairy milk, and you went for the Mars bar, you've given up the dairy milk, haven't you? So that's your opportunity cost. You could be asked questions about that in terms of a knowledge, from a knowledge perspective, or it might be a numerical question that's on the multiple choice. Businesses and government face these choices every day. So opportunity cost is about the next best alternative that you're giving up, whereas a trade-off is just a general approach to the other alternatives you've given up when you've made a choice. Choices have to be made because we have scarcity in our resources. It's the basic economic problem. Chapter 2 of the book looks at raising or lowering price, and does that always work? So this is this concept known as price sensitivity of demand. Remember, it's the demand for the good or service that's either price sensitive or insensitive, not the good itself. So if you're describing beans as being sensitive, they're not. It's the demand for them that might be price sensitive. Get that right. Use of language is very important. This is important for firms because it links in with pricing decisions. If you understand that your demand is either price sensitive or insensitive, you can understand the impact of a price increase or decrease on your revenue. For government, it's important when it comes to taxation, when they're trying to correct economic problems. So when demand is price sensitive, it effectively means that the percentage change in the quantity demanded, often measured by revenue, is greater than the percentage change in the price. Very important to remember that. So if the quantity were to decrease by 5% as a consequence of a 1% increase in a price, you'd describe that demand for that product as being price sensitive. Goods that are price sensitive tend to have lots of substitutes or choice. Takeaway restaurants is a good example. Insurance products, you've only got lots of choice about where you can buy and what you can buy. It tends to be that the demand for products is price sensitive. When demand's price insensitive, it's the opposite. It's where the percentage change in the quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. So goods and services which can be described as necessities or that don't have very many substitutes, these fall into this category. Classic example: fuel, petrol for your car. Doesn't matter what the price is, you need X number of litres in order to get you to and from work each week. So demand is price insensitive. Very little alternative apart from taking different modes of transport and walking. Most people like having a car and being in a car. In terms of revenue, you can link this concept to revenue. So revenue, just to recap from last year, unit 1 is price times quantity sold. It's income for business. We've said that these are the factors that affect price sensitivity, so the availability of substitutes, whether or not a product is a necessity or not, addictive nature, maybe it's a product like cigarettes or alcohol which are addictive, therefore people will pay whatever for them, and time. Time's an interesting one because obviously fuel, as we previously said, the demand for fuel is price insensitive. Actually, in the long run, in the future, 20 years down the line, that might be completely untrue. There might be new alternatives which end up in the market which we can use. From a government's perspective, very important in terms of taxation decisions. When they know that a product has a demand which is price insensitive, they are much more likely to impose a tax on it because they know that they can increase the price, which is usually the effect of taxation, and people will still buy. The demand will stay the same. So this is why cigarettes, fuel, alcohol have high taxes on them. From a business perspective, as we said, it's the impact on revenue which is key for them. So a little table there just to summarise this. When the demand for a product is price sensitive, a price increase will lead to a fall in revenue. The change in the quantity demanded will be much greater than the change in the price. When there's a price decrease, we see the opposite effect. Small price decrease, massive increase in demand. With insensitivity, price increase will lead to a rise in revenue. So you've got a bigger price multiplied by the same demand. Look at the formula. Revenue equals price times quantity. Bigger price, same number quantity, revenue value is going to rise. Price decrease, you'll see a fall in revenue. Quantity stays the same, you're charging less per product, revenue is going to go down. Lots of examples in the textbook. Price sensitivity is an important concept because it comes up in multiple areas. You can use it as an evaluative point whenever you're dealing with taxation decisions and trying to correct market failure and issues in markets that the government might intervene. So social problems, for example. How effective is the tax? Well, it depends on the price sensitivity of demand for the product. The next chapter looks at stakeholders and their perspectives. So recap there, stakeholders, very easy. Groups or individuals with an interest in the performance and behaviour of the business. Workers, customers, government, they've all got different interests and are affected by the business in different ways. We have conflicts which appear as a consequence because stakeholders have different objectives. Customers want lower prices, whereas the shareholders want profit. Therefore, they want the high prices possible. The workers want high pay. Again, shareholders want profit, so therefore there's a conflict. Local community is a good one. A business decides to expand, might increase congestion, pollution, etc. So it's important to remember these things when you're dealing with questions regarding stakeholders, and that communication is the key to resolving these conflicts, and compromise might be required. It's also worth remembering for evaluative questions that the influence of different stakeholder groups does vary, the degree of power. You can use that in extended writing tasks. Shareholders, ultimately the owners, they are very powerful. The government also is extremely powerful, so are the workers. But it depends on the scenario and the circumstances you're given in the exam. Chapter 4 focuses on externalities, or what we call costs and benefits. These are the decisions that are made by business which has both direct and indirect effects. So the indirect effects on others who are not involved in the decision, they are said to be the third party. So they can be affected in a negative or a positive way. So they're not involved in the decision, but they are affected by it. Negatively, we call this external cost a negative externality. So it's a cost which people pay outside, or organisations pay outside of the firm and away from the decision as a consequence of a decision a business makes. So a good example there about congestion. Business expands, more congestion increases the cost of fuel to people in the local community and other businesses, increases journey times, time costs money. Positive benefits, though, can arise from activity from business and government. So these are things which, again, you're not paying for, but you benefit from. So a new railway line would reduce journey times and congestion. Vaccinations benefit the individual, but also others. Why are they important? Because they need to be taken into account to try and help avoid stakeholder conflict. These come up again when we're looking at ways to correct issues in markets and alter the behaviour of businesses to reduce the impact of negative externalities. We look at things like taxation, for example, and how it can affect the behaviour of individuals and people.